Hi, everybody, and welcome to day 15 of Raising My Vibration in 2018. So today I wanted us to talk about the books that have inspired us and some of the books that we've read, or some of the teachers that have written some amazing books that have made some huge shifts and changes for us in our lives. So I have always been a huge book junkie since the time I was a child. I can remember in elementary school when they would give us a reading list that we had to read. I would dive right into it. And I can still, X number of years later, I can still remember some of the books that I read as a young child, just like I would have had read them yesterday. And so it just goes to show you that when we, again, taking everything into the idea that everything is energy and everything carries a vibration, even something like reading a book, so taking those words from a book and then bringing that into our energy field, so that they actually become part of our vibration, means that we need to really be consciously aware of what kind of books we are reading and what we are bringing into our energy field through written words. So I've read numerous books. Some of my favorite authors are Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra. Muji is another author that I love to read. Esther Hicks, Through the Teachings of Abraham, is another one that I love to read. And I want you guys to become aware of, if you think back of some books that you've read that have really made some shifts in your life and have made some changes for you. There's a lot of material out there, and everybody's writing a book. It's like they say it's the new calling card, right? Instead of having a business card, you say, here's my book. I've written a book. And it's interesting because, again, it's, in one of my mediumship classes, so I teach mediumship in classes, and I say with my beginner mediumship class, I say, not everybody is meant to be a medium. And I say this in all seriousness because, there's a certain spiritual foundation that needs to be laid and worked on. And in my class, that's, it's the first class, the first whole 8 weeks of a class that we do is all about the work that we do on ourselves and creating that spiritual foundation, and realizing that when we want to work with spirit, that it's a sacred act, and it really is a huge honor and a huge sacrament to be taken seriously and to be regarded with respect. And I think when we are reading books, we need to keep that in mind as well. So, like I said, everybody's writing a book. There's so many people out there who are sharing their lives' experiences with you. And this is awesome because then we get to see the expansion of everybody's and see the, how we all have things in common. I just want to make sure, for the most part, that when we are choosing books to read, that they are actually going to be doing something to lift our vibration and to raise our vibration. This is interesting. So, if you go online right now and you look at books that have been written to raise your vibration, there's like 1 billion of them out there right now. And I often wonder, is there anything that hasn't already been said? Do you know what I mean? I think we as humans have been on the planet so long now and have reincarnated so many times that there's not, there's no more ideas left that have never happened, and there's no more words that have never been written. It's all been said. So what we're basically doing is we're taking it and we're putting another spin on it and we're sending it back out there. And, in a way that's good, because for some of us who didn't get it the first 20 times that it came out, we now will maybe be getting it the 30th time or the 40th time that we actually read it or become aware of it. And so I wanted just to share with you a couple of books, so a couple of authors. So this book in particular, this is Deepak Chopra, and it's his A New Earth book. and this is interesting, and I'll often share this with people. So when this book first came out, it was back in the day of Oprah, and you remember Oprah Winfrey was a big thing. She had the Oprah Winfrey Show, and anybody who ever came on her show became an instant star and overnight success. And I can remember that she had Eckhart Tolle on, and nobody at that time really knew who Eckhart Tolle was. I had no idea who he was. And he had written this book, and so she did like a whole program on it, where they went through and delved into this book. And I can remember watching the commercials for it and the advertising for it, and hearing, this Eckhart Tolle and A New Earth. And at the time, this was, it would have been 12 years ago, maybe more. I remember hearing it and thinking, I'm really not into the whole save the planet thing right now. I'm not. And at the time, I guess, this was like the beginning of my awakening. But when I heard the title of the book, New Earth, I really thought that it was, more of we have to stop how badly we're treating the planet, and how, the ice caps are melting, because I really thought that that's what it was about. That's not what this book is about at all. And so because my immediate perception of the book was what it was, I completely dismissed it and didn't look into it at all, at all. And Oprah's show went on, and, it was a great success, and Eckhart Tolle became a huge success from it. And it was years later that the book came into my awareness again. And this time, I picked it up, and, they say that everything happens for a reason, and it'll come into your awareness when you're ready for it. And when I started reading this book, I had, within minutes of reading it, I had so many aha moments. I had so many moments of remembering and clarity, and, of this knowingness. And it absolutely started to change my life. Eckhart also has a book, and I'm sure everybody's heard of it. It's called The Power of Now. And The Power of Now is the same thing. There's a lot of teachings that I do that came from my own personal evolvement through the teachings of The Power of Now, and bringing those practices into my daily practice. And so I'm forever grateful for authors and teachers like Eckhart Tolle, who are there to do what they do, and it's interesting. So, and Deepak Chopra, who is also another one of my all-time favorite teachers and authors. It's interesting, if you look into the lives of these human beings and to their beginnings, they all had very dramatic beginnings. They either had addiction problems or mental health problems, and they had these huge, everything again crumbling and falling apart, only for them to, come out of the ashes and have their awakening like that. And it's a huge inspiration for those of us who, really are struggling with anything, and anything kind of feels larger than life. We need to remember that through some of our deepest and hardest life experiences, that this amazingness comes from that. These, the knowing about this, and the being able to teach, and the being able to share our teachings with others. This is huge. Another one and she's got tons and tons of books, but this is Esther Hicks, and this was one of her actually very first books that was with her husband. And so I don't know if anybody knows much about Esther Hicks, but Esther Hicks and her husband Jerry, they have a very similar story. They had some shifting and changing, some things happened in their lives, and through some evolution within Esther, she actually started channeling, and they would be considered to be many beings from other dimensions. And I know that sounds really woohoo, but it's really quite brilliant. So she actually channels a group of energies called Abraham. And I don't know if anybody back in the 70s, probably one of the first channelers that I ever heard about was Jane Roberts. And so Jane Roberts wrote the Seth books. And I don't know if anybody's looked into that at all, but take a look at that. So Jane Roberts, and it was the same thing. Jane and her husband were actually like, you know, they were teaching meditation classes out of her house. You know, she didn't start off with any of the spiritual foundation or any of that. It you know, it happened for her, and she ended up being a channel for this being called Seth. And so Seth came through with all kinds of great lessons and awarenesses that are just probably not even reachable on a human level. And so obviously somebody that's from another dimension or a higher realm than Earth is able to come through and give us this information. And so with Esther Hicks and with Abraham, that's, you know, the whole teachings of Abraham are inspirational. And I don't know anybody who has read her stuff or starts to follow her stuff who doesn't immediately feel the shift in their consciousness or the shift in their vibration just from listening to the teachings of Abraham. And it's interesting. So, you know, we've had books around since the beginning of time. You know, we had the Bible. The Bible was supposed to be our biggest inspirational piece of work. It was supposed to be our guide. And I think that we, you know, most of us have learned now that, again, this goes back to the point in the beginning of it, to be careful what you are bringing into your vibration as far as the energy of what you're reading. So the Bible, right, has a ton of the vibration around the Bible is supposed to be of love and is supposed to be of light. And I think somewhere along the lines, it got a little bit disconnected and sent in the wrong direction. And so to me, the Bible has got, you know, even though it still has a lot of the, your perception of it has to be, you know, finding the love and finding the light in there, but there's still a lot of fear and a lot of repression in the Bible. And I don't think that that's who we are or where we've come from. And it's certainly not what a conscious being feels like. We, you know, through this journey now of raising our awareness and becoming more and more awake, if anything, you are really starting to recognize when something feels really good to you. So meaning that it feels like it's in the vibration of love. And then when something does not feel good to you and it feels like it's in the vibration of fear. At this point in our journey, we want to be recognizing that and being able to recognize it immediately so that we're not spending any more time than we have to in a vibration that doesn't feel good to us. So I want you to I want you to take a look into some of these authors and find a book that will inspire you and help you to raise your vibration. And Eckhart Tolle writes in the beginning of that book, The New Earth, that, you know, if you're reading this book now, it's for a reason. It's come into your experience for a reason. And he also writes in there, if you're reading this book and it's not making any sense to you and you're not getting it, then it's fine. It's completely fine to put it down and then come back to it another time. For me, it was, you know, I think it was like 5 years later. It took me in that 5 year span, I needed to do so much shifting and so much changing in myself in order to be able to now then pick up that book and be able to relate to it. Of course, you don't have to wait 5 years. Everybody changes and evolves at a different pace. So our focus for today in raising our vibration is finding a book to read that's going to absolutely light us up. And you can check out some of the great teachers that I mentioned today. So Esther Hicks, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Mooji. There's lots. And there's, you know, Carolyn Myss, there's Louise Hay. There's tons and tons and tons of authors. See what you're drawn to and what it is that you specifically need right now in your lifetime, and what is going to be the most inspirational thing for you. It's really cool because Eckhart Tolle calls these signposts, like the books are signposts. So they really are meant to send us in a direction or put us in a direction or help us to go to along the journey that we're supposed to go on. And that's what we are going to use them for. I wanted to read you something from Esther Hicks, and just the teachings from Abraham I really relate to because it's not complicated. She makes it, they make it very easy to understand. it's very, they talk all the time, in the language that I understand, which is the frequency and the vibration, and so the words that they use and the words that they choose are all vibrationally high. And I love that, because I love being able to read a paragraph in a book and then instantly feel different and instantly feel good. And that's super powerful, right? That's amazing. So I just wanted I wanted to read just what they're talking about in here. And of course, Abraham's teaching is that we create our own reality, and that anything that we manifest, we can manifest, and that, abundance is ours. And it's everything that we've been talking about in raising our vibration. So Abraham writes here, Esther Hicks writes with channeling Abraham. She says, well-being is the basis of this universe. Well-being is the basis of all that is. It flows to you and through you. You have only to allow it. Like the air you breathe, you have only to open, relax, and draw it into your being. Isn't that cool? Doesn't that just put everything that we've been talking about into perspective? So, it's, we are beings of well-being. This is who we are. This is in our DNA. This is what we're getting back to. On this journey of raising our vibration in 2018, we are remembering that we are conscious beings, that we are connected to source, and that we are pure energy and light. Okay, so let's do our breathing exercise. And I hope for most of you, you guys are doing, finding more, exploring more meditations on your own, and more of the tapping videos, and using all of the tools that you can do. I hope that when you watch my video, it's not the only time in the day that you're connecting with your breath. Make sure that you're doing this consciously on your own whenever you need to. So I want you now just to join me. I want us to merge our energies together. So I want you just to close your eyes. And I want you just to bring your awareness to your whole being through your breath. So breathing slowly in through your nose and bringing in light and love and healing. And through your exhale, through your mouth, I just want you to let go. I just want you to let go of everything. In through your nose. Again, in through your nose. And just stay in for a moment with your eyes closed. As I call in my team of guides, of angels that I work with. And we are sending the group collectively the frequency and vibration of well-being. And all you have to do is be open and willing to receive. Okay, awesome. So you guys have an amazing day. Please tell me what books are inspiring to you. Tell me any books that you want me to talk about on here that you think that will inspire others. And I'm going to attach a link to one of my favorite Abraham videos that will be about raising our vibration, and it's something that you can watch and use as one of your tools. You guys have the most amazing day ever, and I will talk to you tomorrow.